guys for joining us today. It is our first episode of Work in the System. We're excited to showcase Ann McClure. Ann's a great friend of mine. She's been in the business for a while, and the whole idea behind this program is to bring you actionable systems with some how-tos that you can actually put things into place, hopefully right after the video. So that's what we're going to do. A little bit about Ann. She is with Corcoran and McInerney. It's a new affiliation, I believe. Ann does the work-in by referral system as her primary source of lead gen.
That's right.
Serves the Maryland, Virginia, and DC area, and is a DC native.
That's right.
And she's earned the Washingtonian Best or Top Agent every year since 2015.
Yep.
Also, Real Trends verified top 1% of agents nationwide, and is a believer in educating for informed decision making, an upholder of high standards in business ethics. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say she's also an animal lover.
Thank you for having me. What an honor to be your first guest on this.
Well, when I was thinking about this program, you were the first person that I thought of, because what we're going to hear about today was such an innovative way to bring value to clients. I thought, I can't do this and not have Ann be the first person.
Oh, thanks. Program. I'm glad you like it.
Well, I'm happy to learn more, and I'm sure people are going to be thrilled to learn about it and use it in their businesses as well. So today, before we jump into it, a little bit about you. What did you do before real estate?
It's kind of a funny question because before real estate sales, I was in real estate. I did recruiting and marketing, and that was recruiting is an interesting job. The founder of the company, John McInerney, did not let me recruit new agents. So I had to recruit only experienced agents from other firms. And if you think real estate sales are hard, recruiting is really hard. So after talking with, I think I tracked it at one point, it was like 400 different agents in the DC metro region. I learned so much from those interviews. And I thought, I think I should do this. I felt like I might be good at it. And before that, I had been in marketing for a publishing company. And I even had a brief stint, Marvin, as at the Hershey Bar at Hershey Park.
Really?
That was a tough job.
Tougher than recruiting agents, huh?
Different. I fell over once in the little arena area in front of the Hershey Bears and our hockey team. And they don't know who's in the costume. And they took shots at me with the hockey puck. And I'm like laying there. You're like a turtle. You can't get up. The walls of the outfit are like this thick. And I had to get help while people are pelting me with hockey pucks. I swear to God, I'm not making this up.
Now, is that like a semi-pro team?
Yeah.
Okay.
Out of Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Oh,
We have a great agent, Angie, who serves that area.
Always referring. I love it. And I know that your primary source of lead gen is the work-in by referral system. How did you decide to use that system to help you generate business?
Because I was doing recruiting, I was getting very involved in agents' personal lives. I'd learn if somebody was a Jimmy Buffett fan or expecting their first grandchild or, had just gotten a new puppy. And it was very relational. And I tried to really bridge the gap because I wanted them to learn more about a company I thought was great, which was Mac. And I wanted them to know I really cared and was interested. So when I decided to become an agent, a couple of agents invited me to some conferences, and I went to one called Turning Point. It was called back in the day by Providence Systems. It really resonated because it was not this whole go knocking on doors, go cold calling. It was get to know people, relationship based. And when they know you, trust you, and like you, they generally will refer you unless they've got a brother or sister or whatever who's also a realtor. And I thought this really resonates with me because I do like most people and I do want them to know I care. I mean, that's really important to me. They're spending a lot of money. And I mean, when else do you spend this kind of money? And I feel like home ownership is so important. And it just seemed very, very natural, and not just natural, it seemed logical.
It can't just be a transaction.
Right. I want it to be consultative. And I love reaching out just today, I see a photo of a past client who dressed up as Moses, who's genius. His wife was dressed as the burning bush. They looked awesome. And it was Halloween was a few months back, right? But I had heard he had done this and I saw a photo. Well, I had to reach out. It's those little touches, like just reaching out and saying that was just the most incredible. I finally got to see a photo. It's those little things you can do, I think, that people go, oh, wow, it's awesome. She reached out and we hadn't talked for a while. So it was great.
Well, you do care, and you care about the relationship, and you care about a person of value, bringing value. Speaking of that, we'll transition into the topic of today, which you fondly call Ask the Expert.
Yep.
And that's the lead gen system that we're going to talk about today. Tell everybody a little bit about Ask the Expert. Where did Where did that idea come from?
At the time in the industry in the early 2000s, it was real popular to have what we would call buyer seminars, where you would invite buyers and you would do an education system, and it was no obligation, but come to our event. Maybe you spoke and a lender spoke and maybe a settlement attorney or something, and you tried to pick them up as clients. And that was a very common thing. It was, believe it or not, a buyer's market. And then I thought there should be something for sellers. And I tried a panel where I had like four people up at the front of the room and I invited sellers. And I realized I needed more people and I needed to feel a little bit more organic than people having to sit down and listen. And, what if the person speaking about, I don't know, organizing your files for taxes they didn't care, And at the same time, we had heard a concept about this breakfast or happy hour you could get together. It's called a contractor mixer, I think is what it was called, where you would invite all your contractors and you'd have them get to know each other so that if your chimney inspector needed a mason, you had them in the same room and they know that you're out there referring everybody and you're sort of making your team gel, your team in terms of contractor, your cadre of contractors. So I'm thinking about all these things, the buyer seminar and the seller seminar, that I wanted to be a little bit different, more organic. I was talking with another agent, and then I had talked with this guy who owns a great company in Northern Virginia called Handymensch. It's like mensch is a Jewish word for like an expert or something. So Handymensch home remodeling. And I told him, I want to do this seller seminar, and he loved the idea of having panelists. And then I thought, let's just get all the experts in the room. And so we invited a bunch of contractors. And the idea has evolved over time. We invite the contractors and we invite our clients. Bring your to-do list, bring your photos of your rotted columns in front of your house, bring the ideas that you want to bring to fruition but don't know how. Talk with the contractors that you want to talk with who you don't want to have to pay a bunch of small fees to have them come out to the house. And so that's what we did. It was kind of magical. I mean, the contractors started referring each other. Your clients felt heard. They got their questions answered. You looked like a rock star. And a weird thing that came out of it is for the rest of the year, I'd get calls. Oh, you had that pool guy at the event. We do finally want to do the pool. Months and months later, I'd have referrals for these contractors. And the other thing is the contractors started to have referrals for me. And I've closed some of them, and they've been just incredible. I felt so fortunate. It was a byproduct that I didn't even see coming at the time.
I know that for a period of time you had to go virtual,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And then tell me about that, because I think for a lot of people, that might be the way that they start easing into it. So tell me a little bit about that. How did you set up the virtual event? What did that look like? And what were some of the results?
Well, I have a fantastic assistant named Jennifer, and we were talking about this, and she's like, and I'm thinking, how are we going to turn this into a virtual event? Like, we have a pile of contractors in a room, So we did one contractor, and I think it was every other week or once a month. I can't even remember now. And we'd have one contractor. So let's say we had a plumber or an electrician. We would invite them out, and we would talk to them, and we would sort of give them, let's talk about electrical safety in the home, or let's talk about things you can do in your home to maintain your plumbing system. And they would just talk and they would give advice and I would ask questions, and it was, 30 minutes long, give or take. And we would put it out on YouTube, we would promote it, and people started watching it. And my contractors started getting referrals. And the other great thing was, if I had a client email me, let's say randomly 3 months later, and say, hey, Ann, we're having problems with this plumbing situation. Do you have any good plumbers? I'd go, oh, yes. And you know what? I've got a video on this. I'm going to send you a link to YouTube. Watch this. But in the meantime, here's the referral to the contractor. Yeah. So it was like they got a little tutorial and they got a referral. It was amazing how, they'd be like, I can't believe you sent me a video on this, where you're interviewing the plumber. It was great.
Well, I think it shows a higher level service that you provide. It's one thing to see somebody on camera. They may get to feel like they know them a little bit better before they even make the call.
I think that's true, because it's hard, especially, certain clients are very, they're trepidatious about having strangers come to their door. Even if I've recommended the person, they don't know what they look like. They don't know how they're going to show up. But now they kind of have a sense, right? If they've watched the video.
That's a great idea. And now that, we're fortunately past all the COVID stuff, you're back to doing it in person?
Yes, back to doing it in person.
Do you
in fact,
still...
I'm planning my February one now.
So two questions. One, is it always the trades you have these mixers for? And two, since you're able to use those videos, is there going to ever be a hybrid or is it just going to go all back to in person?
So I'll answer in reverse order. I have not thought about doing a hybrid, but you've got me thinking, always asking the good questions because I loved the tool too. When someone had a problem, I could shoot them a video. Like that was so cool. And also, there were people I'd be going on a listing appointment. They go, "Oh, we Googled you. We found a bunch of your interviews on YouTube with contractors." So when
Yeah.
I would say a differentiator of me with other agents you might be interviewing is that I have incredible contractors who know how I value them and they take special care of my clients. And if I need something, I can get you an estimate, I can get them to act quickly, and I can manage the process. And they know that's true, right? Because they've seen the videos.
Yeah.
And it's
Social
like,
proof.
and I've won listings where these people have said, really, we interviewed three great people. And really, one of the things we liked about you was that you had these contractor relationships and that you're willing to manage the process. And great. I mean, I think that's great value I can bring.
Well, it's one thing
Somebody
to talk the
referred,
talk, but there's a different thing to walk
right.
it, right?
Totally, yes. And I've gotten testimonials where people talk about she had great contractors and she took care of it all.
Yeah.
But my contractors are trained now too because they know about Ask the Expert. They know I'm going to support them and send them referrals, and they know how I want them to show up for my clients. So it's an amazing system once you get it going. And you
Yeah.
asked me another question and I answered in reverse. What was the other one again?
Oh, the other one was, are you going to just keep it focused on the trades?
Great question. Okay, it's heavy on the trades. However, I have done other events where I've had like an attorney to talk about estates and wills. I've had somebody, if anyone watching this wants to look her up, her name is Kay Bransford. She has a company called Memory Bank, spelled with a C at the end. And she's AARP endorsed. The reason I mention her is because she created a system for folks to record all of the important contractors, vendors, passwords, medicines, doctors, everything in their lives. It can be done on a thumb drive or in a binder. The reason I mention her is because it's a great tool and it's a great company. So if you have like an estate attorney, a K Bransford, somebody who does home organization, a tax, a CPA, a bookkeeper, now you're getting into more of a, paperwork, organizing my life for, what may be my last chapter. I mean, I hate saying it that way, but you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like getting your affairs in order, even if that's 20 years out, but having those kinds of people help you, it's just logical, right? A CPA and an estate attorney and an organizer and so on. I've done events like that too. And I will have at this one, like I'll have an insurance agent, I'll have probably a CPA. Can't remember who else is on my list right now, but in addition to several tradespeople.
Hmm.
And sometimes you get requests, from your clients. So I've thought about doing like landscaping ones, which really you should do in the fall. Well, maybe not in California. But in our area, you should do them in the fall because if you call a landscaper in April, they're booked.
Oh,
Forget
yeah.
it. You'll
Oh,
see them
yeah.
in July.
Well, no, because when I think of it, I think, okay, you have the trades, and that's one group, and then you
Yep.
have like your financial advisors, which,
Right.
it would be like you said, the estate planner, the CPA, the
Yeah.
financial advisor,
Yeah.
the real estate agent,
Yep.
insurance.
Yep.
And I'm sure if we sat and thought about it, we could probably put a couple other clusters together.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean,
You,
I just love the idea and you
yep. I think
execute
you
it
can
so
run a lot of
flawlessly.
directions with it. You could probably do one for, pets, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
all kinds of, veterinarians, tips for, safety in your home with animals or, I mean, even, dog walkers or, the fire
Rumors and
department will
yeah.
talk with you about pets. And, you can go a lot of different directions with it. I mentioned the landscaping because I think a lot of people nowadays are doing the home automation with like exterior lighting,
Hmm.
hardscaping, pools, patios, outdoor kitchens, outdoor sound systems. In addition to what we think of as landscaping, I was using that term generally a few minutes ago, but landscaping, it's not just the plants, right? It can be so much more. So, but yeah, I think you can go so many directions with it, honestly. I
Yeah.
think you can. And I think the contractors, the beauty of it is they start interacting too, which is
Hmm.
great. I mean,
Yeah.
many of them reached out to me after the fact and said, can you refer me to so and so who was at the event?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And again, it's you started it to provide value for your clients, and now you provide value to the trades as well, and you're getting it back. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we had a locksmith there We've had him several years. I really like this guy. His name's Alex Salinas. And Alex is also a woodworker. And so if you just hire a handyman, if your door is broken, it might be because something has shifted in the frame. So what the differentiator for Alex is he can fix your wood frame.
Right.
And he can do the locksmith. So it was interesting to have him there because it's like you're not now going to have just an ugly new lock that doesn't match the rest of your hardware and looks janky because you've had a guy out there who really is an expert. And once the clients start understanding, oh yeah, this is like next level, then they are realizing a little higher caliber. Ann's going to not just help me with the practical piece, but the aesthetic piece. So I don't then have another to-do item with the front door. And the other contractors also noticed it and they were like, I want that locksmith, let's say the GC, I want that locksmith on this project,
Right.
It was great.
I love it. And I think the other thing that I was thinking about with the way that you have it set up, and then when you make that introduction to a client, I think because you have this video library that they could use as a resource when you make that connection, I think that layer of trust is extended, and then the contractor doesn't have to deal with all of the walls that people put up.
Yes,
Right.
I think you're so right.
And so they can get into the nuts and bolts right away. And then people could be a little bit more transparent, knowing that they can trust this person.
Yep. I think that's so true.
I love it. So you're talking to me.
Good. I hope you do. I can't wait to hear about it.
I want to implement Ask the Expert.
Do it, and I'll help.
There you go. Well, you're going to help me and everybody else today.
Yes.
So if you were to redo it, you're going back in the past and you're telling pre-Ask the Expert Ann or Marvin today how to do this Ask the Expert. What are the top 5 things you would do to get it off the ground and up and running without making the mistakes?
Okay, no, that's really good. I might have one or two more than 5.
That's fine. I'll take them.
I think first start by being very strategic about the date and location. We structure it as a happy hour. Tradespeople often wrap up around 3:30, 4. We're doing ours from 5 to 7. I'm here in the DC metro region. Traffic's notoriously bad, so try to pick something close off the highway. It's not going to be perfect for everybody. I try to pick something that will work for a good group of people as far as location. We like to do happy hour format, so we do heavy appetizers, beer, wine, sparkling water. And people, they seem to enjoy that because they kind of can come with the mentality of, I'll go there and, if I need to make a dinner of it, I can. I mean, just, it's not just carrot sticks and hummus, it's a little more substantial. I think that kind of appeals to the contractors and the clients so that if they are leaving work, they don't feel they have to go home first and come back out. I think another thing to do is and you can use this as a reason to make your phone calls. Solicit your clients. What are you looking for right now? What can I help with introductions? And you may hear from a lot of people, oh, Marvin, I've been meaning to get to my closets. I would love an introduction to like a space organizer closet, somebody who can build out our closets. Or, one we got that I didn't realize was going to be as popular as it was, arborist. I have gotten so many requests for a good arborist. I mean, everyone wants a handyman, and you expect that. I didn't expect the arborist. So I think use that as an excuse to solicit, hey, I'm going to be putting together this event. I'm calling because I want to get good people in the room. I'm hoping we have a date. You can come. But in the meantime, what kinds of contractors would be of interest to you? And that gives you a phone call to your clients, and it starts to help you understand what's important to people. I think that's a good starting point. Soliciting the contractors, I would say, is next. Some of them are afraid to speak publicly, to be very candid. I mean, I have a brilliant roofer who just cannot get in front of people, which is a shame because I confidently refer this person and they're just not comfortable in that kind of setting. So I think setting the expectation, hey, this is fun. It's casual. That was another reason to get away from the panel in the front of the room. These folks are so good at their trade, but not necessarily comfortable in more of a quote unquote business type setting. So saying, look, it's casual. We're going to have, beer and wine. You're going to be able to wander around the room. They're going to come to you with questions. There's no script. The only thing I'm going to do is at some point, I'm going to make introductions and that's it. You're free to wander and answer questions. We learned we have to set expectations with the contractors. You need to be there on time. On time is half an hour before people come so we can get you set up. We like everybody to have a little part of the room, maybe it's a tabletop, whatever. We want you set up. We want you comfortable and relaxed when people start coming. I mean, we don't want you to leave early. And so we also ask them to bring some promotional items. You can use those as a giveaway. We prepare a booklet and we do goodie bags. We put the booklet, it's a little like this size of paper, It's got a little cover. It says Ask the Expert with like tools or whatever on it. And inside is a list of all the vendors with their contact information and 2 or 3 sentences from each vendor about their specialty. And then on the back cover, we tease our next event, which is usually a shredding, electronics donation, recycling, and donation event, kind of in honor of Earth Day, spring cleaning, whatever. So, and then there's a place where they can take notes. Most people do that on their phone now, but if they want to, they can write in the book. So we put that in the bag and we tell them, the contractors, the tradespeople, bring promotional items that you can put in the bag so people have a goodie bag to take with them, setting expectations that they should plan for that. Be ready to answer any questions, bring samples, maybe bring photo boards of your work. Have a show and tell setup.
Right.
So that if somebody asks you a question about flooring or spectrums of lighting or whatever, you have something you can show them. So I think that's really important, is setting the expectations with the contractors. And then get your invitations out early. And it shouldn't just be invitations, video, digital, print if you want, but make the calls and do all the reinforcement we're supposed to do, right? Calls, save the date, a video, whatever, like get it out many times. Again, we know as agents, the value is in the contacts, right? You're positioning yourself as an expert, even if they can't come, there's so much value because now they're like, Marvin has everybody. I
Right.
better call Marvin.
So before you go on, I'm going to stop you. Give me, how many contacts do you make before, if you could lay them out? And then
Well,
how early do you start promoting?
Well, several weeks ahead of time. 6 weeks is probably ideal. Starting with phone calls and save the date if you can get that out in time. Then we do a video. I don't have the exact calendar of how we do it in front of me. I have to be honest, I lean into Jennifer for that. My assistant kind of bosses me around. But yeah, we'll do calls around it, and then we do a postcard. The postcard has Ask the Expert on one side, and the other side lists the experts. So not by name, but by trade. Because the name doesn't matter. We want them to come meet the people. I mean, it matters ultimately, but not for this. We want them to know an arborist will be there. A general contractor will be there. A lighting specialist will be there. A master electrician will be there. A master plumber will be there. A deck builder will be there. I mean, last time we did it, we had 13 people. So the postcard lists that. We actually also have our in-house marketing person create a little thumbnail that when I have the phone calls, I can be like, hey, Marvin, I know we talked a couple weeks back and you said you were interested in talking to an arborist and getting some exterior hardscaping done. The Ask the Expert event, we've got a date now. It's February 27th. So I want you to put on your calendar, and we chit chat. And then I say, when I hang up, I'm going to text you a digital version of the invitation. So now you've got it by text also. So I reinforce the phone call with a text with the same image that you'll see on the postcard and the digital online marketing. So it's several touches. Where I fall down, if my coach watches this, is I just get swamped and I don't get all my phone calls done. My buyer agent Felicia is doing calls. Jennifer, my assistant, does some calls. So we do try to cover the bases, but we can always do better. There's always plenty of opportunity.
And are you inviting your whole database?
I do. I invite the whole database. Now, not every person in the database gets a call, but we try to get through the A's, A pluses, some of the B's, people who bought recently, people who I know might need to, maybe I've had conversations. So yeah, we invite the whole database.
Perfect. And then who pays for the apps, the beer, the wine?
We pay for it. A lot of our contractors, we didn't even ask, but some of our contractors just said, I'm giving 300. I'm giving, they just started chipping in, which was awesome to not even ask. And they just started doing it. We could say, hey, $75 from each person or something. It's honestly, it's a really inexpensive event. We used to do it in one of our offices that had great space. Now we do it in, I think it's an American Legion. Not sexy, okay? But the restaurants are expensive.
Yes.
And there's, sometimes there's limited parking, there's limited space, there's noise. I mean, when you do it somewhere, whatever room you can find, a community center, whatever, where it's just you, there's a big benefit because now you've got lots of groups of conversation going on. In a restaurant, it's very hard unless they have a big room, and then they're going to charge you a lot. So we found finding a different venue is critical. I mean, gosh, in California, you could probably even do it outside. We can't rely on the weather.
I think that just about covers it. I'm going to recap really quick. So the first thing you want to do is pick a date and time. Sounds like between 5 to 7 is ideal. Make the location somewhere that's easy to get to. Happy hour format. Ask clients for introductions or asking them who they need, essentially, so you can make sure you invite the appropriate people. Get the contractors on board.
Yeah.
I like where you said make sure they're there 30 minutes early.
Yeah. Yeah.
And get the word out early and often. So make sure you get all the contacts in.
Yep.
That was 5. That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
And honestly, It's an event you can get mileage from throughout the whole year because whenever you chat with somebody, even if it's after the event, you could say, "Oh, I'm sorry you couldn't make it. We're going to be doing it again.
Mhm.
While I have you, what would be important to you?"
Yeah, love
And
it.
then you're picking up referrals for your vendors too.
That's fantastic. When I refer my vendors, I tell them I like to keep good people in business.
Yeah.
And so I know you guys are going to take great care of my clients. They're going to get wonderful service, a great price. That's what we want. So I want to make sure that you guys stay in business. I mean, this has been fantastic. I'm so glad that I was able to get you to be the first because I think this is super valuable information. It's something I could put into practice right away. It's a value add. It shows our commitment to providing a higher level of service. It shows like our commitment to the relationship. And we're just not there to do the transaction. We want to be there,
Yeah.
like you said, before, during, and after. So,
And it shows our commitment to small business, local business, and working by referral. Just
yes,
constantly reiterates that.
that's perfect. It's all about relationships.
It is.
And before I let you leave, I'm going to ask these questions of everybody, and
I'm ready.
hopefully it helps people get to know you a little bit better.
Mhm.
Um, and it'll help me get to know you a little bit better. What's the best advice you've ever received, and who'd you get it from?
It's interesting. I have two that I can't give you one, Marvin, because they're
That's
tied.
okay. I'll
So
take it. You're the first one. You do whatever you want.
the first one is from my favorite college professor, and his name was Dr. Wenberg. And Dr. Wenberg used to say, a project is never finished. It simply comes due. And that's true. Think about real estate contracts, right? But even if you think about it in this, you could go, oh, I shoulda, coulda, woulda. I could do this next time. An idea somebody had is make a table tent for each vendor's table to
Mhm.
say, ask me questions like this. So the landscape architect, ask me about how I can help you if you have trouble with water retention in your
Mm,
yard. People don't think of that.
right.
So that was clever. So, he said it's never finished. It just comes due. You're always going to look back and think you could improve it. And I thought that's so true. I've applied it a million times in my life. I mean, thank you, Dr. Wenberg. And the other one was my dad, who was an engineer, and he used to say so he was an engineer. So he meant this in a mechanical sense, which was the more moving parts there are, the more opportunities for something to go wrong. Well, think about real estate. We know from the National Association of Realtors that there are, what is an average of 27, it's either 26 or 27 people involved in a real estate transaction. Well, that's a lot of opportunity for things to go wrong.
Yeah.
So, the more moving parts you have, the more mindful you need to be of the process.
There you go. I
Yep.
like it.
Yep.
And then if you could have a superpower, what would it be? I asked this because my kids asked me this the other day. So I'm like, that's a good one. What would your superpower be and why?
My superpower is probably also tied between the ability to eat calories and not gain weight. No, but I think maybe even more than that would be I would love to stop time. Like
Oh,
just have time to myself where I can move around and do things and enjoy things and nobody else gets that time. Then I can free time up again and everybody's back to doing their thing.
there you go. And lastly, if money were not an issue, what would you be doing every day?
Well, I mean, I'm going to sound boring, but like long walks with my dog, playing in my garden, reading great books. I love great books. Fun lunches with people, maybe spending some more time by the water. I love the Chesapeake Bay area, which is very close to here. I mean, just I think a relaxing day of doing my favorite things.
Well, I can't thank you enough, Anne. And for those watching, if you have a referral in the Maryland, Virginia, or DC area, and you are looking for an agent that will take great, great care of your clients, Anne is that person.
We promise to reflect well on you.
Yes. And she'll
Yeah.
make sure that they're taken care of, not just throughout the end of the transaction, but even afterwards. So
Yes,
whatever they need, they'll be served above their expectations. I can guarantee that.
they will. And if you're watching this, you've got questions about how to do the event, feel free to reach out to me.
We'll put your info in the description as well. And we're here in the Long Beach area, so if you are looking for somebody to either help buy or sell a home in the LA and Orange County areas, give me a call.
When
And
I make my calls for Ask the Expert too, I will remind people I can refer them to great realtors around the country and see if they have
well, there
friends
you
and
go.
family who need anybody.
Well, Anne, thank you so much for spending some time with us today and sharing your system of Ask the Expert. I know I am motivated and inspired to get busy and bring my contractors and all of my vendors together and actually have a business mixer scheduled for March. So
Oh, good.
yeah, so it'll be, maybe we can merge the two of them at the same time. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. Flesh out the
Yeah,
idea even more. Yeah,
there
if
you
you
go.
make improvements, let me know.
I will.
Thank you,
And
Mark.
folks, all the information for Ann will be in the description below.
So something I forgot to add, Marvin, is that I teamed up with a couple of realtors because we weren't sure when we started doing this how our turnout would be. And we didn't want more experts in the room than visitors. So
Mhm.
I did it with a couple other realtors to make sure there were plenty of visitors. That's one thing, and it also helps split the expenses. And the other thing I forgot to say that's a practical piece is that we have the vendors wear a name tag. And it
Ah,
just says Master Electrician Lafayette, Master Plumber Calvin, interior designer, Nikki. And we don't have our guests wear name tags, only the vendors. That way, if the guests are roving around, they
oh,
can always identify the expert. And the expert can identify other experts and who's a guest. So I literally had people come in and they go, "Hey, Ann, I need the closet organizer, I need the electrician,
mm,
and I need the architect." And then I would go, okay, the architect's in that corner. He's the tall guy. The electrician's over there, and the other person's right here next to me. And then, it was funny because they'd go around with their lists. And I'll tell you something else that was kind of neat that happened is I can think of two specific incidences where I closed clients because I invited them. They were thinking of listing with me, but they were, still interviewing or whatever. And I said, why don't you come? You'll at least meet vendors. I mean, I know the risk is they use my vendors and not me, right? But at that point, I don't know if I'm going to close them or not. And I figured this is a pretty impressive event. And in both cases, they came and they said, we definitely want to work with you. It's a
nice.
very impressive event. Then it's a little bit more manageable. I think you could do that, a different
Hmm.
time of year, a little easier to orchestrate.
Yeah, maybe almost like trades in the spring and the fall, and then the financial folks maybe
Yeah.
early summer or something like that.
Yeah. I think that would work.
Yeah,
Yep.
awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
All
Excellent.
right. Well, thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.